Hey, so what's going on, guys? I'm Chris, and this is Regular Guy Training. So in my last video, and you're just going to have to excuse this shit, because it's getting close to spring, and we're just going to have to deal with it. So, in my last video, I got a lot of questions about this, right? So this doesn't have anything to do with the rifle it's connected to, or the ducks. I like how the ducks are taking on a life of their own. And I like how people are now beginning to try and compete with me with the gayest possible tape that they could have for classes. It's fantastic. But, this, right here, right? The quote-unquote relationship that I have with MS Slings, period, from Magpul, extends quite a ways. And in a way, this is another one of those videos that it's like, shit, why didn't I talk about this previously? Because since 2010, right, that's when like the Magpul Dynamics videos came out, and that's when Magpul shit started going everywhere, and that's when their magazines started flooding the market. It was a hell of a marketing tactic, in all honesty. But it's one of those things where, okay, I started getting interested in a lot of their products, particularly like the stocks that were out, the magazines themselves, and the slings. So at the time, I picked up a MS2, and a lot of the issues that I encountered were a lot of the issues that Magpul themselves had talked about, because they needed to make an improvement on the sling, because it was one of those things where it was kind of like a two-pronged deal. One, the material in the sling itself was pretty easy to fray, right? So anytime that you had the thing on and you're dealing with IOTVs or anything with a lot of Velcro or Molly on it, it would fray the sling itself, and you're constantly taking a lighter to it. It's a kind of a thin material too, so if you had anything just pressing on you for long periods of time, it was incredibly uncomfortable over long stretches, right? The next thing was attaching your sling to the rifle was kind of a pain in the ass, in that, well, the hook itself was like a pull tab type thing, and then you had to sit there and just kind of like fuck with it and like jerry fuck a hook into their ASAP sling mount, and then pull the thing out and hook it up, and there you go, and now it's on the gun. So they made a couple of improvements to it, and this is with the MS3. Now, I personally just prefer the older MS3, mostly because with QD and stuff, just attaching it and detaching it forces you to press into a button and then pull away from what it is it's attached to. And if it's a heat of the moment type thing, or if it's just convenience, in all honesty, it is far less convenient to do than to just press on these, right? So I personally prefer these for the MS3, and I prefer the old ASAP sling mount, and I'm not a huge fan of QD in general, mostly because, like everything else, it starts to wear out, and it wears out quite a bit faster than these, right? This sling is years and years old at this point. So it's one of those things where, okay, well, what do you mean though? Like, how are they wearing out? Well, they tend to just kind of quickly release, right? And I've seen guns fall into the ground and all kinds of shit like that. So it's kind of a pain in the ass, in all honesty. So I'm not a huge fan of that. But talking about this sling now. Now this sling I've had since 14? Yeah. No, late 2013, right? So do math. I've had this for a little while now, and it's done nothing but great things for me. Now, I recognize that the sling world has evolved a little bit since then, but it's not like this is a unserviceable sling by any means. Because first and foremost, attaching it to the rifle is fairly simple. Okay, we're messing with this, and that's where it is, right? If I have to loosen the thing up, this is easier than it was before. Before, there was like there was essentially, out of the material of the sling itself, there was a little loop that you had to pull on, right? Either running forward to tighten it up or pulling it back to loosen it up. And this guy's quite a bit easier, because all you're doing is just yanking on that, and it loosens up to however it is that you want. And when this guy's attached out front, it's easy. And when this guy's attached out front in the 2-point configuration, it's easier to go ahead and do that, right? So as far as that's concerned, and even in 1-point, it's real easy to tighten up, right? So there's that, and just hooking it up and putting it into one point, it's real easy to do. Another thing that I really like about this is that it's not that it's incredibly wide or padded or anything like that, but it's just wide enough as far as the thickness of the sling, both in how thick the material is that's sitting on your body and how wide it is, to where it disperses out the weight of whatever it is that you're hanging on your body, to the point where, okay, it's not going to make you ache after 20 minutes, right? So it's one of those things where this really starts to get on my nerves in a one-point configuration after several hours of actually doing stuff with body armor and all that crap on, right? And going into a two-point mode and carrying this in a lazy boy configuration where you're just walking around for hours and hours and hours and hours, that it's endlessly useful in that regard. Now, what's also kind of neat about it is that the adjustments for how the thing tightens up, both on this end and on this end, are actually quite helpful. Because for me personally, it's one of those things where in the moment, if I'm going from as I am to body armor on, and there's no real time to prep it out, okay, just loosen the thing up so that, okay, I can throw my kit on and it goes back to where I personally like it, and that is pretty high, right? And it can sit as is on that plate carrier or whatever. But I like the adjustments here because, you know, the last time that I deployed with one of these slings, and what was great about it was the fact that, you know what, I can adjust it specifically for a plate carrier or an IOTV or whatever, right? And that opening is already as is, as it's tightened up. And the reason why I like it in that way is if I have to loosen it up or go to a two-point configuration and loosen it up more, it's easier to get to, right? Like if I loosen it up like so and then throw a plate carrier on, the adjustment thing is even further away from me than it would normally be. Okay, and when you have plates like front, rear, and side plates on, that kind of becomes a huge pain in the ass, especially if you throw like a bag or something on, so now you got straps and all this shit in the way, and I don't want to reach all the way back there to just tighten the thing up. Now, of course, you can see what I did right there, and that's just I yank the thing up and then adjust it, but you also have the option to adjust it this way as well. And that's the primary reason why this right here isn't tied down or taped down or anything, because I do make adjustments on it. Not regularly, but often enough to not, you know, tape that down. So that if I'm doing a class or whatever that dictates me to wear plate carriers, right? Like if we got a lot of guys that came out and wore plate carriers, I'll don mine, just because it's the techniques and stuff that you're teaching are more relevant to the kit that those dudes are wearing, right? The loading techniques I'm teaching from a belt are less relevant to a guy that's wearing, you know, a plate carrier on. So you do that and they can see you doing what it is that you're trying to teach. That's the main reason, right? Also, I'm still in the Army, so it's one of those things where it's like, okay, let's keep that going, right? But in the years that I've owned this thing, I can't really speak more highly of it, right? I know that there are other slings out there that a lot of guys like, and I know that there are, like the Savvy Sniper Sling that people keep telling me to friggin' buy. Look, I understand that there are other slings out there. I understand that there have been sling evolutions over time. But really, this is one of those things where I haven't really seen the reason to, right? Because this is versatile in that I can do this in the one-point configuration. I can go to the two-point configuration. If I have to shoot farther away and I can't get in the prone or a sitting or something like that, and I have to stand, like just the angle I have means that I have to just shoot over the top of a wall or something, I can go to two-point mode, wrap up the sling, and get nice and tight so I can shoot farther away. It's not difficult to do by any stretch. And it's one of those deals where, like, even if I'm not actually wearing the rifle itself, I can detach it, set it down, do what I have to do in the motor pool, get everybody straight, blah blah blah, and then when it's time to actually go ahead and mount up, it's like, all right, cool, let's lock the thing up to an ASAP and get going, right? It really is just that. You know, the thing has been nothing but solid over the years that I've used it. I can't really see anything bad about it because the material's tough. As you can see, it's one of those things where it's like, I've used this thing for years, and it's not coming apart. I don't have issues with the roll pins on the mash hooks. Even the locking tabs that are in here that prevent you from opening them up that I about never use, right? There's no issues with it just doing that on you. None of that shit, you know. The only issue I've ever had was a personal, individual issue. I was out at Fort Bliss, Texas, doing a bunch of training out there with the unit. It was like the MOB prep for deployment, and I was individually unprepared, right, to where I did not have the proper gloves to be standing out there in 20 degrees with far worse wind than what's out today. And I was so cold and I'd been out there so long that I went to try and like go to 2-point mode, and I couldn't depress this all the way. But that was a personal problem and a personal issue, you know. So it's, you know, if the only issue I've ever had was because I was a fucking idiot and I didn't have the right gloves for a particular occasion, I'm fine with it, you know. So I can't recommend it highly enough, and I highly suggest that if you're in the market for a sling. These are not expensive. They're not. You know, there are slings that are out there like $100 fucking dollars, and one of the main reasons why I haven't done a million sling reviews is because why? Why? I have what works, you know. Most of the reviews that I do are, there's some reason that my brain is geared towards reviewing a specific thing. Like, it's an ulterior motive other than just reviewing it, because whatever it is that I have to fuck around with, I have to spend my own money for, at the very least, bullets, right? So it's like, why would I then spend $100 on a sling that I know is just going to hang somewhere, or make a sling that's perfectly serviceable useless at that point, you know? So I would suggest to check them out. They're fairly ubiquitous. I see them all over the place, and that's just my perspective. So that's all I got on the review. I put this out in the most recent video that I did, but I'm going to say it again. If you are a school teacher that through whatever process that your school is going through, because I know that that's widely varied, but if you are a school teacher that was permitted to carry a firearm and you want to actually train with said firearm because you don't want to be some FUD that went to an NRA safety course and that's all you got, I train educators for free. Yes, I need you to verify with me on that. Like, I need a photo, like through email and stuff, obviously. I need a photo of you and your diploma, right? And I also need to know, you know, what school that you work for, right? Additionally, if you are a school resource officer and your department isn't up to snuff on training, and most of them aren't, and you want to be up to snuff, I train those guys for free too. Again, there is a verification process that I have to go through. Just shoot me an email on that and we'll go through details back and forth on how that's to go. That's a little more sensitive. So, yeah, I mean, if you're in those two categories and you fit that bill, if you're one of those guys watching this video, we train you guys for free forever. Okay? Now, for the rest of you guys that want to come out and take classes with us, we have a bunch of pistol stuff and a shotgun class that's on the website right now. This includes a low-light, no-light class out at Bud's in Kentucky. It was brought to my attention that I made an individual error that showed that training event as expired. It's not. I fixed it. It's open to register for now. So it's a low-light, no-light Pistol 1 class. There's no prerequisites for this class, and trust me, you'll be fine. If you have zero experience, it's okay. But it's one of those deals where it's like, at the very, very least, if you have any questions about whether or not you have the experience to come out and take this class, just shoot me an email. You can find that very quickly on the website, and my contact information is there. So, you know, have at it if you have questions. The shotgun class is a little over half full as far as Louisiana is concerned. So and that's 9 months out well, I'm sorry, 6 months out. So if you're interested in that shotgun class, I would lock down that slot because it's going to go away. So there's that. We're also going to Maine for pistol stuff. And we're also looking to go westward for some rifle training and stuff like that. You know, we may be fairly close to you. We may be in the Montana area, hint, hint. You know, and I would say pay attention to the website and all that. And the link for all this is in the description below. And when that updates and gets put on the website, I'll let you guys know for sure. So if you want to come out and train with us, absolutely give that a thought. If you are interested in supporting us through Patreon, we are endlessly grateful, dude. We take most of that money, and we take guys out and train them in the soldiering world for free. I have a couple of names already for the next couple of classes coming up, so you know that's where a lot of that money goes. So even if it's just like a one-time, here's a nickel, it goes quite a bit further than you realize, because it either goes to those guys or it goes to bullets for the channel, you know, stuff like that. And if you want to train for even cheaper than what our full price is, we have openings for $35 a month, where you come out and you train with us for $35 a month as often as you want for as long as you're signed up to the thing. And realistically speaking, it's like if you look at the full price and then you look at that Patreon deal over there, if you do simple math, it's one of those things where it's like that's paying full price is kind of dumb so long as those slots are available, right? So I would highly suggest that you check that out if you want to train with us for more than just that one-off thing. If not, I get it, you know. Rolling the dice on us is rolling the dice. We don't have that much of a rep yet, but pretty much everyone that's taken a class with us has rated us very highly. So there you go. If you want to join our discussion page on Facebook, there's a link to that also in the description below. A lot of good discussions going on there. So, you know, it is what it is. But with that being said, guys, remember, a regular guy's firearm is the last defense against tyranny. Be easy.